Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Martellacci of the Mindshare Learning Board, and welcome to another edition of MindShareTV, where we explore the ideas, innovations, and inspiring people shaping the future of learning and leadership and work. Today's conversation is one that every entrepreneur, education leader, and high-performing professional needs to hear. Our guest today, my good buddy Josh Chernikoff, has spent more than 2 decades building successful businesses in education. But behind that success was a story few saw coming, a serious heart health scare, despite living in an active lifestyle with some of the most obvious warning signs. Today, Josh is on a mission to help entrepreneurs understand the hidden costs of stress and why protecting the person behind the business may be the most important investment they ever make. Uh, Josh, welcome to Mindshare TV. So great to see you. How are you doing?
Oof. I'm here. I'm 70 days exactly post triple bypass surgery. So I'm really happy to be here. I'm getting healthier every day. Today is a Friday, and so I now take Fridays off. But any chance to get to spend some time with you, I'm game, whether it's in person or on your show. So here I am.
Hashtag honored. I'm going to shift a bit from the sunlight here, but wow, we haven't talked in quite some time. I wanted to give you time to get better, and although we've been in contact,
Yeah.
uh, through texting, and I'm so pleased to, first of all, hear your voice, and so pleased that you came through. And it certainly was a blessing that you went in healthy. You were otherwise healthy.
Yeah.
Uh, and let's begin with your personal journey and what happened that made you realize the health story is much bigger than simply surviving a personal health scare. We all now, I know I look a lot younger than I am, but I'm a baby boomer and I just had a big birthday. And we talk about longevity and well being all the time, despite the fact that I play hockey 3 times a week. I try to eat a balanced diet. I've been wanting to go for a full body scan, which I'm planning to do. And we can't ignore ourselves because we become selfless, particularly in education. I've seen this movie replay itself time and time and again, or whether it's an educator, ed leader, or ed tech leader, we throw ourselves into our passion and kind of become selfless.
Yeah.
And it's certainly some hard lessons.
Yeah. You're certainly right about educators who run businesses, and you can zoom out even further and just talk about entrepreneurs as well. Because anybody who's an entrepreneur, is trying to bring something to life, their passion to life, their passion to others, to hopefully help them in their lives one way or another. Um, my story on this starts truly a couple of years ago, where I had some trouble breathing, which I thought was asthma because I grew up with asthma. So, of course, I defaulted to this is asthma. And when we moved back up here from Mexico and I was spending more time with my doctor up here, she was helping me with my asthma, so we thought. But eventually she said, "Hey, Josh, I've really done everything I can, Dr. Sana." And she said, "So we're really down to 2 things here." And she said, "It's either anxiety or something I don't know." And I said, "Look, Dr. Sana, I certainly have nothing against anybody who has anxiety, but that's not me. So let's figure out what it is." And so she sent me to get a um, CT scan of my chest because she's a pulmonologist, she's an allergist,
Mhm.
and of course nothing came back in my chest. And I remember standing there in the doctor's office with her, and she said, but I want you to know that the report shows that there's some plaque buildup in your heart. And of course, I don't know what that means. I'm a pretty relaxed person. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a business owner. So I take the information, and let's deal with whatever that means. And so I went and got some blood work done. I was fine. I went and got a test done on my heart to make sure it was beating fine. That was fine. And then I went to go get some work done. It was called a CT angiogram, which is where they put the dye
Right.
into the heart and they show how everything is moving. That was about 10:30 on April 23rd, 22nd. And I left the doctor's office and I was driving back and started to get all these calls. But I don't know about you, having run businesses, you get a lot of damn phone calls. I've run up some founders' debt. So, I've had some people call about credit cards and things like that. So I just ignore most of the phone calls I get. Around 7:30 that night, I looked at my phone and there was 14 missed calls from the hospital.
Wow.
And basically they said, get the F back here. We need to see you as fast as possible. So I went after a conversation with my wife, which was a very serious conversation. We always talk to each other very clearly. And I said, she was on a business trip. I said, I got to talk to you. Don't know what this means. Don't know what this is, but certainly not going to hide anything from you.
Good.
It's definitely
It's not good.
Definitely not good.
Yeah.
And what they thought would be the solution was a stent. So maybe a stent or two on April the 27th, which is a Monday, which is not a huge deal. I mean, it's your heart, but it's a pretty routine thing. So we went in. My wife was back from her trip. We went in, spent all day there. They finally got me in. And everybody who told me this was a routine thing, I would definitely push back a little bit now because, you're in a gown, you're on an operating table, you're not, they give you some medicines, you're kind of out. It was fun medicine. And I remember leaning into the doctor and they put a catheter in your wrist and they go through to your heart. And I remember leaning into the doctor. Tiny camera. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Through your wrist. And I remember leaning into the doctor, but I was a little loopy. And I said, hey, you guys aren't doing much work. And the doctor very nicely leaned in and he said, we're not going to do any work today. And I remember thinking, even though I was a little looped, that's not good. And then when I came to my future surgeon, cardiac surgeon, Dr. Cohen, and my wife were standing over top of me saying, you are going to have bypass surgery as soon as possible.
Wow.
And it was, that was a Monday. And then that Friday, May the 1st at 7:23 is when they began making this 8-inch incision down my chest. Went in for a bypass and came out with a triple bypass.
And how are you feeling today? You look great.
Thank you. You're catching me in my Friday workwear. So, I'm linen and hat today. But I'm relatively back at work. I'm not a doctor, but the way I would describe and will describe this experience in this book that I'm writing called The Entrepreneur's Heart is that to me, a bypass is really 2 surgeries because they go in there and they do the work on your heart. And you have to assume that it's going well and has gone well. But to get to your heart, they have to crack your chest. So basically for the last 70 days, I've been recovering from the fact that my chest was cracked open. And interestingly enough, I went in because I had shortness of breath and I came out with even more shortness of breath because when they go in and they sew back up your chest, it's pretty tight. So I still can't take a deep breath. Now, that shortness of breath is different than what I went in for because that was being caused by stuff in my heart.
But you still feel a little bit.
So that's kind of an interesting thing in your mind that you go in for one thing and you come out with that. it will get better, and it has gotten better. And I'm on the other side of
Yeah,
this.
it's when I take a deep breath, my chest cavity expands.
And mine can only go so far right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll keep my shirt on, but it's it's really quite a scar, and I still have 2 marks below my scar, which is where they were, all the crap that was from the surgery was being, kind of coming through these tubes. So it was quite an experience, and I'm here, and I'm much healthier, and it was, just something I still can't believe.
Yeah, well, I couldn't believe it. I mean, when I heard, I was like, we all, friends and family were, first of all, shocked, but, you know, incredibly relieved when you came out of it. And,
Yeah.
but your positivity, your mindset is absolutely paramount. And let's talk about the entrepreneurial mindset. And many entrepreneurs pride themselves on pushing through adversity, as we do. Why do you think so many founders dismiss warning signs as stress or just burnout? Because there's nothing more important than your health and your family,
Yeah.
right? And they go hand in hand, because if you're not well, you're not going to be able to be an engaged and caring family member. So it comes back to that selfless mindset that we get carried away with, perhaps, or that
Yeah. I
passion.
mean, I know that you're a phenomenal friend and father and husband. Um, and I think that
Hockey player, I'm
an
sure.
amazing hockey player, of course. And I was relatively living that life, I believe. I worked out, I ate well, I slept well, no history in my family of heart issues, no diabetes. Um, and when you strip all those things out, having started my first business back in '08 and having worked over, you have to believe, 70 hours a week since 2008, that's a lot of stress on the heart. And I believe as entrepreneurs, we are well positioned to have a shitstorm like this come at us, because we will face it and we will do it step by step. And we're also good at relying on others to say, hey, doctor, help me here. Physical therapist, help me here. Spouse, can you help me here? Because to run a good business, you have to be able to do that. That being said, we're also very good at compartmentalizing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can compartmentalize shortness of breath, or not being able to sleep, and say, oh, it's because I lost that deal, or, oh, because it's the summer and my business isn't running as well. So I've got, these things going on in my head. And that's not a good thing. And so what I've been urging people to do is, especially entrepreneurs and business owners, is let's think about our bodies like we would our business. If your business is telling you something, that thing better than anybody else. You got to listen to it. You got to turn to that expert, whether it's your CFO, your bookkeeper, your COO, whatever. And your body is the same way. If you're feeling something, if you're hearing something, just best thing you can do is just every 6 months, go get that checkup, or every year, and have that primary care physician, and be honest with them. Hey, I'm an entrepreneur. I love the challenge. I love to work hard. I work more than 70 hours a week. So can you make sure that my heart is functioning the way that it should? And one thing you can ask for is what's called a calcium score. You and I
Right.
have talked about this, and asking for a calcium score might cost you a little more because it might not be covered by insurance, but it certainly is worth it, because it's a real key indicator if there's anything going on with your heart. And most likely there's nothing, but get the score and go from there.
Right. Great advice. And I plan to do that. I just
Please.
wanted to get to my 65th birthday, because I didn't want any bad news. Like, I was just being realistic. I'm like, you know what? I've got to this point. I'm just before 65. let me get beyond that, and then I'll go in for my battery test and the calcium test for sure. Looking healthy versus being healthy. One statement that really resonated with me was looking healthy is not the same as being healthy. What does that mean to you, and why is that distinction important?
It's been said, probably about you as well as me, that there's not a camera that I don't enjoy being in front of. So fine, I admit that. And I also believe that, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we should look a certain way because we are representing ourselves and our team.
Yeah.
So that's important. Also the inside, being healthy is important too. And so, I tried to do everything I could to be healthy. And whether it was eating well or sleeping well or working out, or, listening to my Oura ring, which was giving me data.
You were doing all the right things, my friend.
I was doing all the right things. I don't think at the end of the day, I was though releasing the tension the way I should have been. And that's one thing I'm working on. Robert, I mean, to be completely honest with you, you're my friend and the audience, I have to be. One of the real challenges that I'm going through is that a lot of people say, well, are you going to eat better? Are you going to sleep more? Are you going to work out? I did all those things.
Right.
But what I didn't do, and I am doing now, is talk to somebody. So I've started to work with a therapist to try and work things out, and they're not life-threatening things, thankfully, but they are, running a business is tough. And then to your point of also being the best husband you can be and the best father you can be and the best son you can be, I want to be all those things. And so in addition to trying to eat well and sleep well and work out, I'm also really working on my mental health as well, which I thought was in a good place, but who knows? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe all that stress and whatever I was carrying was going straight to my heart. So I'm trying to figure it out, trying to face it.
Well, you know what? Brilliant. And you talk about a book forthcoming, so I'm really interested in taking a deeper dive into that. But let's look at Leadership Reimagined, and how has this experience reshaped your perspective on ambition, leadership, success, and what really matters in life?
I think the same things matter to me, but I think they're in a different order. For example, today was a chance for me to spend some time with my wife, and we did that. And we were supposed to have a date, Friday date. We ended up going to Trader Joe's.
Interrupting your date with this podcast because we'll shut it down right now.
That's okay. That's okay. We were supposed to have a date, and we ended up going to Trader Joe's, which is fun for us anyways. And we did that, and we had fun doing that.
We don't have them in Canada. You're very blessed.
Yeah, right. I'm a blessed man for sure to have Trader Joe's. I missed it when we were in Mexico. So I think my order of importance is a little bit different, and my understanding of my role is a little bit different as well, especially as it pertains to my own business. When I went into the surgery and the week leading up to it, I told my team, like, this is not me, not that they thought this, but I was like, this is not me going on vacation. Like, I'm out. Like, my phone's not going to be with me. You're not going to want my answers. I'm going to be looped. I'm going to be hurt. I'm going to recover. And I can tell you, and I'm very proud of this, and it's one of the things I've been talking to my doctor about, that the more time I spent away from my team and the more time I spent away from my business, which I've been building for 4 years, it grew and it got stronger. And I'm thankful that I'm at a time in my business where I've got people in their lanes who are doing what they're supposed to be doing. So my understanding of my own role within my business changed. My understanding of my own role as a husband and a father, as a son, in terms of being truly present, that changed as well.
Amazing. And the notion of being present is something that is often talked about now, given our ability to be connected 24/7. And I'm mindful of that. And at the dinner table, there's no question that devices don't appear. And finding that balance. We did a cottage weekend away with the family, and we're able to orchestrate all our kids coming up and one of the daughter-in-laws or future daughter-in-law. And we were away from our phones the majority of the time, in the lake, in the kayak.
Yeah.
There were 60 steps between the beach and the deck. And I did those 60 steps up and down at least 50 times.
Love it.
It was like, what a great fitness training for my marathon that I want to run, this fall. But, let's talk about, the notion of prevention instead of reaction. If you're speaking to entrepreneurs in their 30s, 40s, 50s today, or 60s in my case, what conversation should they be having with their physicians long before there's a crisis? And, we know someone in our industry who's ran 7 marathons last year who had quite a considerable blockage in their arteries, but ran 7 marathons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. I mean, I didn't run 7 marathons, but I went to 23 speaking appearances. I was at every conference anybody could want to be at. I was living a decent amount of my time in Mexico, high above sea level. I think that the 2 things I can tell you to do based on my research and my background, like yours, is in journalism. So what did I do after this experience? Is I started asking questions of doctors, of therapists, of other entrepreneurs, of reading books. And again, the 2 actions that I think people can take who are entrepreneurs very quickly and should is that make sure you see your primary care physician every 6 months or certainly every year, and just be honest with them, just like you would as an entrepreneur. I mean, I hope people treat their lawyers and their accountants this way, but I'm always very honest with my lawyers and my accountants. Why not? Be honest with your doctor that you do work long hours and you do enjoy it, and so you're under a lot of stress, and then ask them to go the extra mile because they now have this extra piece of information to get that calcium score. Because that calcium score is one of the leading indicators. If you've got calcium buildup in your heart, there might be a little something going on. Maybe it's just medicine.
right.
So just get the medicine.
Right.
Maybe there's something bigger. Who knows? You may end up, on an operating table too. God forbid.
Yeah. Well,
But at least just have the conversation. So do those 2 things. Talk to your primary care physician and ask them to run that calcium score. Those are 2 things that people can do next week.
amazing. I love the notion of building your personal health board.
Yeah.
What would that look like, and who should every entrepreneur have around them?
I mean, if we think about our businesses again, and we've got people we trust, CFOs, COOs, advisory board, you should have that when it comes to your own health. And as I said, my primary care physician is very reachable now.
Nice.
I now have a cardiologist that I know and trust. And as I've been very honest with you here, one of the things that I wasn't focused on was more around maybe my mental health and therapy. So I've got that too. So get yourself a board of people that you can talk to and trust.
Mhm.
And that's just the professional part. And And then, as you know, there's the personal part, open communication with people in your family, because they know you best, and certainly better than you know yourself. I've been interviewing my wife for this book.
Wow.
And learning more about
Cool.
who I was pre-May 1st.
Sustainable high performance. At MindShare, we often talk about human-centered leadership in the age of AI. My book just arrived.
Congratulations.
And just wanted to see it in print before we went full production, and it looks good. How can leaders pursue excellence while protecting their physical, emotional, mental well-being without creating fear or guilt?
Balance.
Yeah.
One word, balance. You know, we're
balance.
You know, we're gonna drive hard, right? Like you know, if we think about it, when it comes to you and I on that hockey rink, like I know you're gonna skate as hard as you can and you're gonna hit into that wall, but then you're gonna have to take a few seconds to relax. And when we are trying to deliver something in our business, or we're trying to bring somebody new in or get a deal closed, you're gonna go 100%. But then you need to balance that back out a day later or a week later with some time off, some time away. And so I really think we need to find balance. We don't have the luxury of balance because we're not working a typical 9 to 5. And
yeah,
for most people, those don't exist anymore, but certainly not for us. So we have to find balance.
And could I throw another name at you that kind of leads a lifestyle not unlike us? The legend, John Gamba.
The legend.
The
Doesn't
legend.
he wear it well?
He does. You know, but, you know, again, he's someone who I think strives for balance. We're all stressed in our lifestyles. Does he do Ironman competitions?
He was. You know, he, I don't know if I told you this story, but the surgery happened on May the 1st at 7:23. And by the next day, that morning, they had me walking around. It was literally the last thing I wanted to do. I was so nauseous and so sore, but they lifted me up and we were walking.
Wow.
My wife had said, Bettina, and she was exactly right, please do your best to get out of the hospital as fast as you can. Don't hurt yourself.
Right.
Like, let's get you home. Let's get you, you know, moving around here. So it sounds crazy to say, but every breath I took, you know, every sip of water, every piece of food, every step I could take was to get out. That being said, I was there that Saturday afternoon. We were sitting there, and Bettina and John Gamba had been in contact because I gave her a lot of different names to say update, and they'll update everybody else. And you and John were in contact. And Bettina said, I think John's here. I'm like, what? Amazing. Who? What? You know, I was still had like the anesthesia inside of me at that point. You know, I'm wearing a gown. I've got tons of cords here. I've got a cord here. I've got 2 cords in my stomach.
Wow.
And John walked in. And he's the only person outside of my sister and my mom and my daughter that came because that's the way I wanted it. And we had a nice visit where he brought me a phenomenal book, or 2 phenomenal books. He brought our daughter Camila a few cool things. He sent food to the house.
What a guy.
Yeah, get yourself a John Gamba. Get yourself a Lighthouse, Robert Martellacci. Make sure you have the best of friends that you can have, because these things are going to happen. And when they happen, you got to have the right people around you.
Absolutely. So you're in recovery mode and you're writing a book. Talk to me about your book. My book is not important today. It's about you. And talk to me about the inspiration and what's next.
The inspiration is this experience. It's called The Entrepreneur's Heart. And it's
the title.
Thank you. It's going to be about exactly what happened to me. So hopefully that can resonate with people who, are experiencing maybe different things in their life or their body that they should pay attention to. We're going to talk to a few different people because I think of this more as an article than just a first person account of what people should be doing to be safe and live happier, healthier lives as entrepreneurs. And by the way, I've already started thinking about the second book, which I think I can talk to you about, which is going to be called The Entrepreneur's Spouse. Because I want to really explore what it means to be an entrepreneur and how it affects our lives in different ways, especially around the things that we value most: our health/heart, our spouses, our wives. So we've already got volume 2 moving around in my head.
A friend of mine recently said to me, your health is your wealth. And he's very comfortable in his lifestyle, very successful business owner. But he reiterated, your health is your wealth.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how much money you have. You're not going to enjoy it if you're not healthy.
True.
And so, as much as we're comfortable, we need to, self-care is paramount. So in closing, advice for every founder, spouses: if every entrepreneur watching this interview remembered only one message from your story today, what would you want that to be?
If you are an entrepreneur, you have a business and you are passionate about it, and you care about that business and your numbers, treat your body the same way. Be as passionate and be as aware of the numbers of your body. And if you take one action, it is see a primary care physician on a regular basis. Just check in with them. And there's so many ways to go now. Just check in with them and tell them that you love your business and you love working hard and you love the stress, because we do. And that is a signal to them to make sure they check things like your heart, and just make sure that your heart's good. That's all.
Yeah.
And then move along and get to the next fire you got to fight, or the next win you got to win. But make sure that you're very honest with your primary care physician about the stress that you are under, so that they can run the test to make sure that your heart is healthy and you don't experience something like I did.
Josh Chernikoff, my good friend, thank you for sharing such an honest and powerful story today. In today's world of AI, innovation, and relentless change, your message reminds us that our greatest competitive advantages isn't simply technology. It's our health, it's our relationships, families, and our capacity to lead with resilience and purpose. So success is never worth sacrificing the very life we're working so hard to build. Thank you for joining us on MindShareTV, and thanks to everyone for tuning in. Final thoughts?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for being the lighthouse to me and to all of the friends that we have in common, to the industry, and obviously to your friends and family. So you keep doing what you're doing, because it's truly helpful, and it helps people in more ways than you know, even when they're sitting in a hospital bed in Washington, D.C., trying to get through a triple bypass surgery. Your text messages, your energy helps. So thank you.
Thanks, buddy. With that, my name is Robert Martellacci in the Mindshare Learning Report. Be sure to check out www.MindShareLearning to get your latest issue. And until next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and keep the learning curve steep.